Good afternoon. This is Treatment of Phobias by myself, Nelson Chamba. So, what is a phobia? Phobia is a specific and unreasonable fear. How are phobias treated? Behavior techniques are most often used because they have had better results than other theoretical models. And the major behavioral techniques treating phobias include systematic desensitization, flooding, and modeling. Now, there are many different kinds of phobias for many different kinds of objects. More popular ones are chlorophobia, the fear of clowns, acrophobia, the fear of heights. Now, systematic desensitization. What is it? It's a classical conditioning treatment used to change an abnormal reaction to a particular stimuli. A behavioral treatment in which clients with phobias learn to react calmly instead of with intense fear to the object or situations they dread. And it was developed by Joseph Wolf. Now, the therapists have the clients go through a step-by-step process. First and foremost, they have the clients try out relaxation techniques. It's important for the clients to know how to be able to relax and what works for them to relax. So when they find the opportunity, they can switch out the fear and anxiety feelings with the feelings of relaxation. Now, the step-by-step process goes through what they call a fear hierarchy. It starts from a mild and little feeling of anxiety to an extreme feeling of anxiety and actual contact with what they fear. Now, as baby steps, clients will go through a series of steps to become desensitized of the object they fear. The end game is for the client to actually become in physical contact with what they fear, or at least be able to imagine it without getting nervous or feeling anxiety. A client won't get to that end game unless he can go through every step prior without the feeling of anxiety or fear. An example with the text showed how a client be afraid of dogs. So the therapist conducted a step-by-step plan in order for the client to gradually work up to be actual okay with petting a dog. For example, one of the first steps had the client just hear a dog's bark or view images of dogs, building up to actual playing with a small dog, finally playing with a large dog without the feeling of stress or anxiety. The next method is called flooding. So what's flooding? A treatment for phobias in which clients are exposed repeatedly and intensively to a feared object and made to see what it's actually harmless. The clients are forced to face these phobias head-on with no relaxation technique or gradual build-up. This is an extreme technique and allows the client not to build up an anxiety or build up any kind of fear, but it just throws them directly into the ocean of their fear. For example, if you have a fear of flying, just go on a trip, vacation, and just face your fear head on going right into the plane. This allows the client not to have that unnecessary buildup of fear and anxiety, and allows them just to quickly and painlessly experience that fear and know that that fear is harmless and unreasonable. Scenarios. A popular technique is to have the client imagine that they are in the presence of this feared object and to have to make the scenario feel as real as possible to get a reaction out of the client. An example in the text a therapist had a client imagine that they were in a field holding a snake, and they had the client imagine them playing with the snake, trying different things with the snake, trying to get the most extreme possible reaction out of the client to have them feel like they were actually there with the feared object. Alright, the last step is modeling. A process of learning in which an individual acquires responses by observing and imitating others. This is out of operant conditioning. Operant conditioning, where the behavior leads to satisfying consequences that is likely to be repeated. Now, in this method, the client observes the therapist holding onto the feared object and seeing how they react. How they react might make the client feel better about it and understand that what they fear may not all be that bad. This is the you go first technique that has the therapist confront the feared object and the client who is afraid to watch them. As the client sees that the therapist is not harmed or afraid or feel anxiety, that client might feel better about handling that object. For example, if I was afraid of snakes or cats or dogs and my therapist was playing with a puppy, I might understand that that puppy is not harmful to me and that I can play with it too. Or if I was afraid to swim and had someone teach me how to swim so I was able to swim safely, and then I probably wouldn't be so afraid to get into the water. The key to success: exposure treatments to help those specific phobias are probably the best way in order to handle someone dealing with a phobia. The end game should be the client actually being in contact with the feared object. That seems to be the surefire way for the client to get over the phobia and recognize that it is harmless and it is not something they should be worried about. If I had to choose a specific treatment and phobias, I'd probably pick the flooding method. I myself have I wouldn't say type of phobias, but I'm afraid to do certain things, like getting into the water and realizing how cold it is. A lot of people just jump right in and not build up that unnecessary level of anxiety and just getting right into the water. Or being afraid of needles. Some people refuse to get any type of shots or any type of vaccines because they're afraid of the needle. But once you expose yourself to it, you get over it and realize that it's not that painful and it's not life-threatening. It's easy to build up a level of anxiety and have that almost stop you from doing anything. But the best way to get over it is just to actually get through with it. So that's why I feel flooding is the best way to get over a phobia. I found that the modeling technique was my least favorite. Sometimes I wouldn't feel better about phobia just because I saw someone else doing it. I'll still be afraid and wouldn't want to jump directly into it just because I saw someone else doing it. Still, I feel the three methods are still effective in their own way, and the results show that they are effective and help people get over their phobias. I think if anyone just understood how phobias worked and how easily they can get treated for it, more people would be inclined to get treated and not allow that phobia to take over their life and disrupt anything. Lastly, I wonder how other treatments of phobia compare to these. In the text, they described that the behavioral modeling was the most effective way in order to treat these phobias, and I'm just curious to see how other people would react to other treatments of phobias. Thank you for your time, and thank you for reading my slide.